The Twins now have Bader and Luke. There's absolutely no stopping them now. Coming off a series win at Target Field against the Mets, it's time for the Twins to hit the road for 3 against the Braves in prefab, not-so-fab suburban Atlanta. We're still not sure if Carlos Correa or Willie Castro can play. We know Matt Wallner is on the shelf and that Jonah Bride is coming down the aisle with Luke Keaschall. Is there a backup shortstop in our future? Doesn't seem like it. Go get him, Brooks Lee. And you, get Locked on Twins.
You are Locked on Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Woo, hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Locked on Twins, your daily go-to source for the top Minnesota Twins insight, discourse, and analysis. Personally, it's my favorite show of the Imperial Locked on Podcast Network, which, by the way, brings you your team, yours, every day, every single day. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe where applicable. I'm Dave Brown, an MLB writer whose wrists and obliques hurt. He just can't tell the pain apart anymore. I'm also a BBWA member and a Hall of Fame voter. Across the Great Plains of cyberspace is Brandon Warren, who is not on the injured list, but it is Friday, so he recently sacrificed some of his hair to the baseball gods. Brandon was a Twins fan who became a Twins writer, and now he's both. You can't find us at Puckett Spot anymore, so don't look, but there's always Access Twins and zone coverage. On the podcast today, he probably should still be in AAA, relearning how to play the infield after recovering from Tommy John surgery. But out of necessity, because of injuries to others, top 100 prospect Luke Keaschall is set to join the big league club for his big league debut. Keaschall was the talk of spring training, and now he's here, technically there in Atlanta, near Atlanta, unincorporated Atlanta, somewhere in Cobb County. The Twins are crossing their fingers, hopefully not too tightly, that probably Carlos Correa will be healthy enough to swing a bat effectively after missing time because of a left sore wrist. They told us that Willie Castro had a mild oblique strain, which typically means a trip to the injured list, but he's still in limbo too as of this recording. If neither are able to play short, that leaves Brooks Lee, unless they dare put Eddie Julian at short, don't do it, or Mickey Gasper has yet another glove in his equipment bag. Pablo Lopez appears to be on his way back from a strained right hamstring. He's got a rehab assignment for the Saints coming up in Des Moines on Saturday. He is eligible to return to the Twins on Wednesday, but a successful outing in Iowa would mean a possible return to the rotation a week from today, maybe, or thereabouts. But first, this episode of Locked on Twins is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Oh, I need a break after that, Brandon. It's intro. People have no idea, but maybe they do have an idea, but that took a take or two to get to this point. But here we are, and Luke Keaschall's coming. He's bringing Jonah Bride with him, and ready or not, here they come. The Twins are in their usual state of flux. That's with an L, flux, with injuries and uncertainties, and they are in position, though, to win a third straight game for the first time all season. They've won two. Have they won 2 in a row?
Yes.
Yes, they've won 2 in a row. I got that right.
From the Metropolitans.
They beat the Mets. Everybody beat the Mets. So
right up, defeat the Mets.
Yeah. They've done that part. They've done their bit, and now it's time. He's probably, I don't even know if he's going to be in the lineup. Maybe he will, Luke Keaschall, but he's here, and ready or not, here he comes. And are you ready for Luke Keaschall?
I mean, I think I saw our dear friend Greg Masterson say this is one of the fastest promotions for a Twins draft pick in recent memory, which for him is probably not that long. But it's amazing to think that rapid of an ascent occurred simultaneously to having a serious arm issue, which, as we kind of have gathered, he's not all the way back from, which means it's an aggressive move. Like, I think the bat is ready. I just, beyond the obvious limitations of not being able to throw, I just don't know if he's defensively ready for any place in the big leagues. But again, we've been watching Edouard Julien, much better of late, but still not incredibly steady over there. So I wonder if this is going to be a DH heavy assignment, but it also makes me wonder, they put one of their best prospects on the 40-man roster is one or the other of Willie Castro or Carlos Correa's injuries more serious than previously thought? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Keaschall is not a short-term play. I mean, maybe he's a Festa type just because of the depth they have, but you're not putting someone on the 40 unless you're planning on using them fairly significantly. I mean, am I wrong there?
I think that's how they would prefer to look at it, but also I think the injuries have put, and the underperformance in certain areas have put the Twins kind of behind the 8 ball in a leveraged situation here where they kind of have to try it. So it looked like, it looks like Keaschall is ready to hit.
Mm-hmm.
The results aren't, it's a small sample, so the results aren't like overwhelming, like, oh, this guy's obviously ready from that. It's more, it's not anecdotal, but it's more, how hard is he hitting the ball? And, he's a guy that makes people incredibly confident about his future based on how he prepares and how he talks about, what his outlook is on being a major league player. So it is a bit premature and a bit early in as far as how the Twins would like to do it. But circumstances have kind of changed how they look at this team. They've got too many injuries. It's a luxury, in a sense, to keep Luke Keaschall in the minors. But like as you said, he's not. He's played a little defense. I don't think he's played a 9-inning game on defense. And we're talking about
if he did, it's maybe been one,
maybe
that. Yeah,
maybe. So it's he's still kind of raw. I don't know what we are risk. I mean, he's not a pitcher, so he had the UCL replacement, but and the elbow reconstruction, but he's not a pitcher. So we're not talking about a guy who's going to make 75 throws in a game.
Is this an Albert Pujols situation?
In what way? You caught me off there.
Pujols had the UCL very early in his career too, and so like they just worked around it.
I don't remember that. That's funny. I don't.
Yeah, well, he had Tommy John one off season, if I'm remembering correctly, which is never a guarantee.
Well, Brandon, you've stumped me on this one. No, but I don't know. I don't know. But we're talking, that would be like 25 years ago at this point.
Well, I think this is a DH-PH situation for Keaschall. I don't think they plan on getting anything from him defensively. They're just hoping to catch lightning in a bottle. Name a hitter you want him to emulate. But I think that it's especially with Edouard Julien playing the way he is, which is pretty solid, I think, across the board. I don't know if the numbers would necessarily support that, but I haven't felt like he's been out of place. They're not going to necessarily need to play him at second base. And the outfield has been fairly solid this year. They run 4 deep already. So I think it's a DH-PH situation and then kind of go from there. It almost feels like he would necessarily have to go back down to work on his defense. If he stays up here for an extended period of time, that means they've committed to the Nelson Cruz style DH, which unless he hits like Edgar Martinez or something, I don't know if I see that happening.
I don't know either. But they haven't really needed the DH for those situations where they thought they might. That's one thing that's kind of worked out good. You don't want Byron Buxton to DH. You want him in the outfield, and that's fine. Carlos Correa, you don't really need him to DH. He's not hitting anyway.
Yeah.
So
and you don't have a shortstop behind him right now anyhow.
That is the thing that bothers me. I've been worried about it for weeks, actually. What the situation is at shortstop. That is kind of.
I think they're
I'm not worried about what they're going to do with Luke Keaschall. I'm worried what's going to happen if Correa's wrist is a problem, if Castro's oblique is a problem, and Brooks Lee is the only healthy shortstop. Am I missing somebody? He's the only healthy shortstop, is he not?
Right. And I think they're 2 minutes away from having to call like Charlie Culberson to come in, or, I don't know if you've noticed, but Kyle Farmer's hitting out in Denver. It'd be awfully early for them to say, hey, you want to accept the trade someplace and then have the Twins trade for him. But because I know it's you're not eligible to do that for 2 months, I think, into the season. Is that?
Don't be tricked by whatever. God love Farmer for his Rocky Mountain oysters.
No, I'm just saying a capable defender at short. There's not really one at. I almost said Rochester, St. Paul either. So I mean, this is an organizational, not necessarily a crisis, but you are. This is like a gas shortage, you know. It is a little worrisome, and when Brooks Lee is your healthy anything, that's problematic.
Just
right?
Because a week back is very tricky and it can go at any moment.
A week back from about a week back. Did you just say that?
I did. That's saying.
Amazing.
That's a real saying.
I've never heard it. I've never heard it, and it was absolutely delightful.
All right. And I've never heard of Albert Pujols' Tommy John injury.
Okay, so like I said, I just finished 3 nights in August, and they literally played him in left field, and he wasn't allowed to throw. He either had to flip the ball to Jim Edmonds or flip the ball to Edgar Renteria, who would come out to him.
Maybe I remember that now.
Yeah.
But,
anyway.
All right. Well, we're going to stop spinning our wheels because we're probably going to go on the IL if we don't stop, and take a break, and then we'll come back and talk more about this if it makes any sense. I don't know.
Did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? That was a surprise to me. Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25, and that is a tremendous game, I might add, to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Avowed, as easily as you stream your favorite TV shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. And with 4K streaming, you can watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribed services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and more. Honestly, between that and kind of getting into, like if you want to get into playing Xbox but don't want to make the plunge of the console, this is the way to go. It's just, again, I can't emphasize enough how I wasn't even aware that this was an option. And so I think that's pretty darn cool. Anyway, head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Unlimited subscription and compatible controller are required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, the second generation, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, first and second generation, and Fire TV Cube, the third generation. And we also got to give some love to our friends over at Gametime. There's nothing better than catching an MLB game live. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, and the smell of ballpark food. If you are looking to go last minute, Gametime is making getting tickets easier than ever. There's last minute deals, that all-in pricing that I really, really love, where I know what I'm going to pay for the entire transaction. That transparency to me is so valuable. And they also have a lowest price guarantee. Gametime takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, ticket prices drop as Gametime gets closer, meaning you can score an incredible deal if you want to have a spontaneous date night out at the ballpark, anything like that. And Gametime Picks feature, this makes finding the best deals effortless. It filters out the fluff and highlights the top discounts in the stadium. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. But again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Locked On Twins is back. We're talking about the Twins on a 2-game. I can't call it a streak. A streak has to be 3.
It's a spurt. It's a
smudge. It's a 2-game winning smudge.
It's a stain on your white T-shirt,
but a good stain. So
yeah,
they have not won 3 in a row, and it's been a while since I looked this up. But as I recall, August 14th or 15th sounds right. Mm-hmm. That's 2024.
Well, with how badly they played down the stretch, I think it's not hard to believe.
So it's been a while.
Astonishing, but still not hard to believe.
The Braves are kind of the National League counterpart to the Twins in terms of the bad start they've gotten off to, and it's Bryce Elder versus the Sheriff, Chris Paddock. in game one. So a couple guys with ERAs over 7 or 9, depending on which one you're looking at. Chris Sale versus SWR in game 2. So
you made it sound like whether you're looking at the Fahrenheit or Celsius ERA. It made me kind of laugh there.
Yeah,
sorry.
It's well, it'd be great if Chris Paddock's metric ERA was less somehow than his actual ERA. But he's been pitching better lately, and that I think is more to say he has not been pitching horrendously lately.
Yeah.
It's been he's been okay. He's gotten through. He's gotten into the 5th inning, and it's I think, speaking of being aggressive, if he's not effective in this start, I think it's bullpen time.
I was just about to say that.
It's Zebby time or Festa or all of them. Bring them on. They need more out of this. If they're not going to hit, especially, they're going to need better starts than mostly what Paddock has been giving them. But his last 2, he's shown signs of life anyway. So I think that patient for very much longer here.
The cruel irony of it is if the offense costs him his spot because he's not keeping them in games. Again, though, you can't really fault them for wanting to possibly make a move. And I was actually about to dive in and say, yeah, we need to talk about David Festa. Don't call me Matt Festa. That's one of my slip-ups too. The Slim Reaper has looked like he belongs. There's no doubt in my mind, and I even tweeted it, like, this would be an incredibly difficult decision if it came down to like discussions between the power structure. How do we send this kid down? I don't think you can. I think he is. It's not like a Francisco Liriano shot in the arm in 2006, but it's significant. And like we're going to talk about, if Pablo's back soon, they're going to feel that pressure to get back down to. I think they're going to still get back down to 5. I don't think they're going to roll the 6-man. Maybe you differ, but I think you got to keep rolling with Festa. And even if this Paddock start is, I mean, unless it's like 6 innings of shutout ball and a couple hits, shifting him to the bullpen and making him the new Louis Varland and making Louis Varland a little more of a trusted guy out there. I mean, I don't know how else you handled that situation. Again, big league teams differ, but that's what I would do.
Festa, the Festa situation, the Keaschall situation is a little bit like the Festa situation. Festa wasn't doing particularly well at AAA when they called him up. It was just kind of his turn. That was an interesting decision that they made to go with Festa, and they must have seen something in because his results were not extraordinary for the Saints.
And the Zebby spot lined right up with it. I mean, it couldn't have made any more sense to have gone with Zebby over Festa, and yet it's been Festa, and he's been very, very good.
So I don't know if they were thinking with their hearts or they were just seeing things that, you only do if you are really paying close attention and are ignoring to a certain extent the results that you get. So it's worked out with Festa so far. I think it's going to work out with Keaschall. I don't know. I'm thinking about the long-term play here. And I think it must be DH because you don't really need him at first. And second base.
That was my first inclination. That was my first inclination, and the incumbent just won AL Player of the Week. So I don't think he's got too short of a time over there, even if he struggles.
And they've talked about putting Keaschall in the outfield, but the way that Bader is playing in left, and you have to ride Larnach a little longer. I think he's just a guy that hasn't hit yet. I think there have been a lot of moves around the league that are panicky, presumptuous, premature. For example,
including the one the Twins were the benefactor of just recently here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's too early to do something like fire your hitting coach, which the Rockies just did, and it's too early to give up on. There are just too many, if you looked at not the leaders, but like the bottom guys, there's a whole bunch of names in there that people haven't hit yet. I think Gunnar Henderson just hit his first home run yesterday, I think. So it's still it's not getting late awful early yet. It's still early. People need to be patient, but still to a degree that, the Twins making moves like this with Keaschall show an urgency, at least, about wanting to sort of seize the day. An
urgency, but not an emergency.
That's right. It hasn't been official yet because I'm guessing Willie Keaschall is going on the injured list. But it would be
Wallner is the only one officially on right now, and that's assuming the Bride roster spot, not to steal any of your subsequent.
No, yeah, but Keaschall's coming. It's not official yet. Bride is on the roster. Jonah Bride is on the roster. Jonah Bride was described as, and comps are lazy, but I heard this comp and I'm like, that's a great comp. I think it was Greg Masterson again. We reference Greg a lot. He's like Greg Masterson said that Bride is like Jose Miranda, and then I don't remember the rest of what he said, but he's like a poor man's Jose Miranda, basically.
That was in regard to me seeing a lesser Donovan Solano. Now, it's not the profile is probably a little more walk heavy for Bride, which isn't saying much. Donovan's going to hit some more. He's not going to take his walks, but I think the Marlins just got impatient, and he was perfectly solid stick for them last year. And what is he, 29, I think, or in his age 29 season? The Braves are just jettisoning guys who
the Marlins.
Yeah. This one I didn't get, but frankly too, I didn't know that much about him. And I went and looked and I'm like, that was a mistake. I think the Twins did pretty well here. Could be a Ty France type hitter at a couple different positions. There's potential.
He struck out a whole bunch in his first, 15 strikeouts or something in his first 20 outs. I don't know. It was something like that. It was way off. It's too early to panic like this. The thing about it is, though, with Bride, if he hadn't had that good season last year for the Marlins, I don't know that anybody would think twice about this, because when he came up with the A's, he didn't produce much. Right. I don't know if that's who he is, but if you look at his AAA numbers, for the most part, they indicate somebody who should be able to hit pretty well in the majors. Some
like
of that
Kai
is
Wigginton or something,
and league related, but Bride is he's a guy. The thing about Bride and Keaschall is they sort of fill the same role, kind of. Right-handed DH.
That's how thin they are, though. That's how thin
it is. It is, but I go back to nobody can play shortstop. Maybe so.
It's a legit gripe.
I'm kind of worried about this. Can you tell? Speaking of worried about stuff, don't worry. We're going to be back after this break, and then we'll talk more about the Twins.
Baseball season is in full swing. Nobody knows it like the Braves fans. They are even worse than the Twins. So keep them in your thoughts and prayers. But there's no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, you pick more or less on at least 2-player projections. And if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs, Prize Picks keeps every game exciting. You can build a lineup in less than a minute. And when you win, because let's face it, you're going to win, right? Your payout is quick, safe, and secure. Got to take advantage of Taco Tuesday, where Prize Picks offers discounts on select player projections for even more value. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game.
Locked On Twins is in the home stretch. Brandon Warren and Dave Brown stretching also, so we can get in our time on the podcast, because we have to prepare as if we are athletes, obviously, to talk about the Minnesota Twins. And I wanted to mention, I think I did a little bit. Pablo Lopez has his rehab assignment coming up tomorrow night. That would be Saturday night, depending on when you're listening. I don't know when you're listening. When are you listening?
It could be yesterday if you're listening on Sunday.
It could be tomorrow. I don't know. Mm-hmm. It might be, Pablo might already have his assignment. Will you please catch up to the present? Mm-hmm. Anyway, Pablo is in Des Moines, Iowa, which is the largest city in Iowa. I know that's not saying much.
I spent a month there one weekend.
Exactly. Cedar Rapids. They could have made it about Des Moines. But he's gonna pitch, and then that would he's eligible to come off the injured list on Wednesday. I don't know if that would be the day that the Twins would bring him back or what, but
not bad when your rehab coincides with part of your time on the IL. Like that's what a minimum stay looks like, which again, pitching hasn't necessarily been the problem, but how much pitching do you need? More. So I think it's
always.
Yeah. And so, but you can't really understate how minor-ish. I don't want to downplay someone else's injury. If you can get back in the minimum 15 and get a rehab outing in there, that's solid.
For sure. And I also so we've got Pablo coming back, eligible to come off Wednesday. We might see him, though, depending on how many innings he goes today, in a week in the Twins rotation. And that would be good news for sure. And it wasn't, they didn't think it would be any longer, but with injuries, you never know because guys,
right.
Sometimes you don't know when you know. It's
you don't know until you know too. Like,
and even, Yeah.
So, I think too, we should talk about Brock Stewart, not to jump.
Yeah, go ahead. While we're on that subject, before I talk about
working a back-to-back, I think they then didn't pitch the next day. Of course, I'm not saying, but I'm just saying it could be a reasonably soon activation. I don't know if it would necessarily be in Atlanta or for Atlanta this series, but if you're working a back-to-back on a rehab, I think that means he's especially close. And I mean, at this point, you probably got to send back Alcala, right? I mean, he's.
Well, you can't do that now.
Oh, that's right. I keep saying that. You'd have to send Louis back.
Oh, you can't do that.
No, they already DFA'd. They already blew it there. They can't DFA him again. So the only reliever, I guess, Alcala too. But I think it's Coulomb is the only one that doesn't technically have any options left. So you could go in many directions, but it's funny how good this pitching staff is going to be as they get guys healthy. Like they talked about Michael Tonkin rehabbing too. And I'm like, he might be rehabbing to get DFA'd.
Right. So, but with injuries, you never know what you're going to get
right
in 5 days, what the roster is going to look like. So we knew that if it would be a good problem to have if the Twins had too many healthy pitchers. We are not there yet. So don't, borrow trouble or whatever. We don't know what things are going to look like in 5 days. And of course, I think you and I agree that this is a big start for Paddock in one respect or another. So Brock Stewart possibly coming back. Alcala, he has options, but he has to approve them because he's got refusal rights because he has too much service time. That happened a week or so into the season. So they don't have that kind of flexibility with him to sort of make him pawn and game of life to do with what they will. And, Marvin Miller, the former Union guys, pumping his fist because, yeah, that's right. You can't, he's a Union man. You can't mess around with him anymore, but it doesn't help the Twins necessarily since you in their flexibility. So,
well, especially because he's gotten smoked.
He has. So we'll see what happens with Alcala. I did want to mention before there's a couple other injury things going on. Did we talk about? We did talk about Tonkin and Royce Lewis. A return to game action is still more than a matter of weeks away rather than days. But he continues to progress well. He's recovering from a strained left hamstring, and the Twins are optimistic that is going. While that is not he's coming back. He's not coming back in a timely manner, so you can stay for a while, Jonah Bride. But it's a situation where he is getting his work in, and it's coming in more or less on schedule. But he's probably going to be, every bit of those 8 weeks that, if not more, that we thought he would be when he got hurt in the first place. So
you got me thinking. This is a good landing spot for Jonah Bride to, kind of show last year wasn't a fluke. He's going to have enough time with the Twins. I mean, unless something just goes insanely wrong and he's over 30, he's going to have enough time to kind of work back into form. And their position player decisions are pretty difficult too. And so it's not as difficult as the pitching staff, but figuring out who's coming and going on this offense is going to get more and more difficult too. So there's a built-in bit of time though with Lewis's return where I think, Bride still has a good chance to work into form. And who knows, maybe the Twins flip him. They did that with, I think, Sam Fuld one time. They traded him and then got him back on waivers. I don't know if that'll be what happens here, but who knows? I think Bride's going to have a good chance here to turn his season around.
I've kind of already given it away, but if you go to Fielding Bible, I'm not saying to go there. Don't go there. I want you to guess who leads the league in total runs saved. All positions. You should know because we talk about him all the time.
I don't. Is
Harrison
it
Bader?
I thought it might be, but I don't.
It's volatile. It could, that could turn. And we've seen Bader make some questionable plays on defense too. Yeah. But he's not catching everything, but he's made some spectacular plays.
And having that in a corner, having that in a corner is so valuable.
Right.
A center field capable left fielder. Right field's so tricky. I don't know how much it would actually help at target field, but just having Bader capable it's been such a windfall for the Twins.
Yeah, it's been sort of like with France. Obviously, a good pickup by Falvey in the front office has helped, is going to be in a situation to help in the future, is going to be a valuable player, a valuable part on the roster.
Nice pickup, Falvey.
It is a nice pickup, Falvey. And we want, before you pick up and get out of here, we want to thank you for making Locked On Twins your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. So for Brandon Warren, this is Dave Brown wishing you all a very pleasant good evening, saying we will, Alexei, to see ya tomorrow night.